Jason M. Burns, 97.3 Chi Radio. Coming up next, we're going to talk to a mayoral candidate that I wish more people were paying attention to, Michael Harris, whose father was actually the first English-born NBA player in history. He'll be in studio to talk about the Sonics, Key Arena, Soto, all sorts of issues. That's coming up next, 97.3 Chi Radio. Jason M. Burns, 97.3 Cairo Radio. I am Zach Burns, in for Jason Rantz tonight, Colleen O'Brien from Seattle's Morning News.
You're in for Jason?
Did I say that?
Yes.
Whoopsie daisy. I've said it. I've had to introduce so many people so many times that it was only a matter of time before I screwed it up. Also in studio with us, Michael Harris, who is running for the mayor of Seattle, and his father, who, interestingly enough, is the first British-born man to ever play in the NBA. Is that correct?
That's right.
Well, good for you.
Thank you.
That's a major accomplishment.
I never knew it was until I got a call from London say, "Hey, do you know you're?" And I said, "No, I didn't."
I just didn't think basketball existed in England in the 1950s.
No.
He opened the door for a lot of the British players that came after him. All five of them.
Oh, right. There's been so many. That guy and that other guy. Michael, you actually announced your candidacy on this show.
I did.
All right. We're getting close. It doesn't sound like it, but we are. The primaries are just around the corner. It seems like you're still having a little bit of trouble building some traction.
It's hard to get out of the gate on something like this.
Certainly it is.
I mean, when you build a campaign, I've been involved in presidential campaigns, congressional campaigns. It takes about a half a year to really build a team and get out of the gate. And, and when we talked, I think there were 5 or 6 people in the race.
Now there's
and
21.
By the time, it's
there's 21, but
400 actually. I think
there's quite a few.
Yeah,
but I mean, we can dismiss many of those 21 as not really a viable candidate.
This is true.
Yes.
I'm
still
respectfully.
I'm still counting you, although on the fringes, as a viable candidate. But certainly the front runners, Jenny Durkin is well funded.
Yep.
Certainly has her base already kind of in a frenzy about her. Mike McGinn hasn't raised all that much money, but he's won a primary before with almost $0, and he's got the most name recognition.
Well, yeah, McGinn again, yes.
McGinn again, yeah.
Exactly.
And I know that's easy to mock, but name recognition, it's something, unless you have large coffers, you really can't buy for yourself.
I'm true, and actually in the last few weeks, I've learned not to mock anybody because this is a hard thing to do. It really is.
I think maybe you should start.
I want to know how you stand out. So, I've interviewed a number of the candidates now, never you, and so I'm listening for something that makes you stand out.
Well, I tell you, the biggest thing that stands out is that I'm tacking to the center on this, and and Zach knows I'm a fiscal conservative. I really am, and I cut my teeth working with Republicans way back in the day. I worked for Reagan Bush actually in '84 as a 19-year-old. So. But I am progressive. I am progressive on all the social issues. I don't think anybody can out-progress me on the environmental issues. But I just don't like taxes. I think we are so overtaxed in this city.
You're going to have a hard time working with the current council then.
Oh, well, I tell you, it feels like I feel like a vegetarian at a barbecue sometimes. I
but
really
that's okay.
do.
I think that there are a lot of Seattleites who like the idea of someone going tooth and nail up against the city council.
I don't mind. And I went and I watched the soda tax, and it was like watching meerkats at the Woodland Park Zoo. It really was. It was just, it's amazing where we have gone in the last few years politically. And that's not the Republicans or the Democrats that I grew up with. I mean, being a moderate and compromising, that's a value. That's something that's honorable in politics.
Now, if
We've lost that.
Obviously, if you're speaking to our listeners outside of Seattle, they would be cheering you on right now. But taxes are popular here.
Yep.
And, the soda tax, I think, is probably the most controversial one that we've had in a while, but it's still going to go through.
Yeah.
So explain to me, if I were to vote for you, and let's just talk simply on the issues of taxation.
You bet.
A year into your administration, do I just have no new taxes, or have some taxes been repealed?
We're looking at reforming the B&O tax. Seriously, and I think that there's a serious problem. I think, first of all, jurisdictionally, it doesn't make any sense to have a B&O tax in a city. And I think the city is trying to be maybe a liberal beacon for other communities, but it really doesn't make sense, and it hurts small businesses. It really does. I know that I've made a whole bunch of films, and when I get maybe $100 or a couple $100,000 for a film, that's gross revenue, and I'm taxed on it. I may end up paying myself $5,000 or $6,000.
So explain how it hurts small businesses.
Well, it hurts. It's just another tax burden being heaped on businesses, and little other things too. I mean, things like the $15 an hour, minimum wage. I mean, I believe in $15 a minimum wage, but I know that is hurting some businesses. And it's not money that is just disappearing. It's not just immediately going into the pocket of these people. It's being passed on to customers. I mean, it's expensive in restaurants now. They're adding 4% surcharges and automatic tips, and we're seeing that. I mean, it comes out of somebody's pocket ultimately. Yeah.
And this test case we're seeing, this income tax that the council is very hot on.
Oh my gosh!
Will you quash that?
I will quash that if I can, certainly. I don't like it. I really don't. Again, jurisdictionally, really, we're going to have an income tax, a wealth tax, they're calling it, in the city limits. You know what happens? It just means that some of our wealthiest residents will suddenly be coming from Hunts Point, Medina, and they'll be spreading, and they won't be coming here. And things we're trying to basically preserve a boom. We're so fortunate to have a boom in this city. The best way to kill a boom is to do these kind of taxes and income tax. It just doesn't work. I don't believe in it.
So then how do we pay for infrastructure? How do we pay to solve homelessness? How do we fund safe injection sites, which you support?
Yes, I do. And let me tell you that. Efficiencies. And I know that just sounds almost like a throwaway, but efficiencies. We have such bloated government. Money is just being wasted in so many programs that just aren't on homelessness, that just aren't working. And where am I hearing that? Not from city council, not from the people you would think you would hear it from. I'm hearing it from people in the streets, NGOs. I'm hearing it from cops. I'm seeing it from other people saying, my God, we spend more than any city, and we're just not getting it. We're not curbing this crisis. It's expanding, and I'm immersive. I need to get in. And the only way you get those ideas is get into these camps like I've been doing. I did the other night. Get into these camps and find out, talk to people, just like I do as a journalist. That's my approach, and yeah, it's different.
So you talked about how fortunate we are to have a boom here right now, and obviously one of the companies that allows us to have this boom is Amazon.
Yeah.
Is Amazon paying its fair share to the city?
I think Amazon brings so much to the city in so many ways, and maybe I'm not objective because I just sold my house. And I know that if Amazon never came to Seattle, that I would have made a lot less money selling that house. Amazon brings so much to us. They bring economic development, and not just now, not just in the past, but in the future. And so are they paying their fair share? I don't think it's the city's job to say to Amazon, you're not paying your fair share. This is maybe a state level thing. This is a federal thing. This is bigger than the city of Seattle. We can be a beacon on so many things, on sanctuary, on all these other things.
How is it not a local issue to say to Amazon that you're not paying your fair share? I mean, because it seems like it's absolutely a local issue for what because yes, Amazon brings a lot here, but we provide a lot to Amazon as well.
Absolutely, and it's a local issue because they're here, but it's a bigger issue, I think, than the jurisdiction of the city of Seattle. That's it. I don't think you're going to resolve it with an income tax, a wealth tax, and that's what they're calling it. It's a wealth tax, 2% wealth tax. And you look at how much money they're going to bring in. It's really not as much money as you would think. They're saying 125 million maybe out of this thing. It's going to be a lot less
for the income tax.
Yeah. It's going to be a lot less, and it's just not the route to go. I think efficiency, I think we can look at all things, but I think you're with Amazon, for example. Amazon has Mary's Place. Amazon is contributing to helping our homelessness issue on their own voluntarily. And I think if we get into this confrontational thing with our corporate residents, we're not going to get those kind of partnerships we need to curb homelessness.
I guess that's the balance you strike, though.
Yeah, well, it is.
That's difficult. I mean, that's the nuance of local government is that, yes, you want to make sure that the corporations stay. If Amazon left right now, it would be devastating. But I don't think they're going to. Right. So I think that the opportunity is there to ask for more, certainly. But
what I want to ask for Amazon is, can you bring some TV and film production back to Seattle? Let's get some economic development also. Amazon can do it. They just won a couple Oscars, right?
Mm-hmm.
For Manchester by Sea. Google's coming in. We can do this. And bring the Sonics back. I mean, that's what we're here for, right?
Yes.
To talk about the Sonics, man.
So there
we go.
And that's why your father is here, former NBA player. That's what we're going to talk about. Because before you leave tonight, Michael, I want you to say something that's going to make a headline on mynorthwest.com tomorrow.
Far out.
All right. Okay. We're going to talk about the Key Arena. We're going to talk about Soto.
You already said he's going to quash income tax. Come on.
Yeah, that's true. There's something. I want something just 10% more inflammatory.
All right. You got it, man.
Jason and Burns, 97.3 Cairo Radio. Radio, Jason M. Burns. I'm Zach Burns. I'm here. Jason Rantz will be back on Monday. Colleen O'Brien from Seattle's Morning News, sitting where he sits. Also in studio, he's running for the mayor of Seattle. His name is Michael Harris, and his father is the first British-born NBA player ever. Chris Harris also in studio. So let's talk some basketball then. There's been some big developments over the past week. Mayor Murray formally announced his support for the Oakview Group plan to restore Key Arena. It's going to cost at the low end $150 million, probably on the high end about $700 million. Although immediately tempered expectations as to whether or not we're going to get an NBA team and whether or not that's going to happen anytime soon. Can you do anything to bring the NBA here faster? Or is this something that you're just kind of let unfold as it happens?
Let unfold. No, we're bringing him back, man.
Okay.
We're bringing him back. And what Mayor Murray did, he quit. He quit on bringing the Sonics back. Let's face it, he quit. He had one short conversation with Adam Silver, and Adam had an influence on him. And he said, oh, well, we're never going to get him, so let's do this. Wow, I'm not going to quit on the Sonics.
So you don't believe that then? You don't believe that the NBA has no intentions of expanding the league as it is right now?
The NBA has no intentions to expand, but immediately. But they will have to relocate some of these teams at some point. And they don't like Key Arena. They don't like, but listen to what Stern said today, right? David Stern comes out and he said, the reason why we don't have the Sonics is because of poor city leadership. That's it. Poor city leadership. He compared us and the leadership we had in our mayor and our city leadership back then with what Kevin Johnson did, right? And he said, and in Sacramento. And he said, well, see, he gets it. Basically, paraphrasing David Stern, he gets it. The leadership in Seattle don't get it. I get it. I get it. I have such a connection to the NBA. I love basketball, but it's not just my dad here. You know, it's people I grew up with. It's all the people. I grew up in the NBA community, if you will.
And I get the nostalgia, and this is not going to make me popular by asking this question, but I obviously want the team back for our city. It's it's caused a lot of hurt for the fans of the Sonics. There's been so much talk about, do we renovate the arena? Do we build a new one? And so much fighting and talking. And meantime, we've got these crises going on with affordable housing and heroin needles littering our parks and the opioid crisis. And I worry sometimes that we're spending too much time on this.
We're spending a lot of time on this, and part of that is just that we're not doing a good job talking about it. We're not doing a good job of negotiating. We're not letting some of these processes do need to work out. I mean, the three competing proposals, 2 for Key Arena and SoDo, they were getting better. It's like basketball. Competition is a good thing, and these proposals were getting better. But Mayor Murray has 7 months left, or he thought he did, and he said, well, I got to have a legacy. Boom, I'm going to make the worst decision probably out of the three and go with this and give up on NBA. I'm not giving up on the NBA. We're going to get them back. That's really important. But, you talk about the other project and the other things, the other issues we have. There's a lot of cross-pollination that goes on. As a development in SoDo could provide another Mary's Place like Amazon did in South Lake Union. It can provide some housing.
Can you tie that into some of your deals? I mean,
Murray can't. Yeah. Murray can't. None of my opponents can in this race. Murray couldn't. I can. And that's what I'm thinking. We met with some of the Hanson people, and it can happen, and we have some. We can make it work.
You're going to ask Hanson. You're going to ask companies like Amazon, build shelters, build housing like Amazon did.
Why not? Why not? I mean, we're all in this together.
Because that's what it's going to take. It's going to take a mayor with a backbone who will tell companies, if you are going to build here and expand here, you are also going to provide social services.
Well, I know you can't see me over the monitor, but can you see my backbone? I'm telling you, I have some backbone here, and I am committed. I'm resolved to bringing the Sonics back, but dealing with all these other issues. The way I deal with the story with ABC News, you don't send a czar. You don't send an assistant. You get in there. You figure it out. You talk to people, and you don't go in with the story written.
So I'm going to ignore the real issues for a second here because I like sports.
That's fine.
So you think the only way the Sonics come back is that we have a new arena. So it's the Hanson project.
It's the SoDo Arena. Yes, it's the Hanson project. They like that project, and they like the Hanson group.
Do they? Because
I think they do. I do.
I've heard the problem is Chris Hanson.
No.
That his interference during the Sacramento deal has kind of tainted his reputation with the NBA.
I don't think so. You know who? The city, the leadership, the former mayor, the current mayor, the poor leadership we had has alienated the NBA. That's what's happened. But we can get this back on track, and Hanson's not out, and the Sonics are not out. This game is not over.
Now, you definitely have more credibility on environmental issues than any of the other candidates.
Yep.
what are some things that Seattle could do better or isn't doing to treat the environment?
Well, I'm a whale guy, and so what I propose is a Southern Resident Orca task force to really get the city together and get the city. We're the only city in the lower 48 with resident orcas, and we don't do much of anything to help them. So why not get us together? Why don't we find some efficiencies, find some money, match some corporate giving, pull together the best minds, the best scientists, the best advocates, and start doing something and rebuild salmon runs. Oh my gosh, and we've got them all over the city limits that we can rebuild. I live by Carkeek. We can do some things to improve the Carkeek salmon run. There's so many things we can do. And as far as climate change, we can go totally renewable. 27 other cities in the U.S. are going 100% renewable by 2035. Not Seattle, Atlanta, but not Seattle. Come on. There's so many things that we can do on the environment.
What do you mean by that? 100% renewable how?
100% renewable energy, going to a full electric fleet, which is closer than 2035, frankly. Our entire fleet of police vehicles can be electric vehicles here pretty soon. We can do things. And the other cities pledged, other cities are stepping up. Seattle hasn't stepped up. We're supposed to be the beacon of environmentalism. We're not part of those 27 cities.
Let's look at our public transportation here in Seattle and
Just
King
going to ask
County.
about traffic.
Yeah, I mean
We
traffic.
have a traffic problem here. Yeah.
It's an issue
Yeah,
every
we do.
single person faces.
Yep.
Is there really anything that Seattle can do about it to make it better?
Stop the war on cars. I'm seriously, stop the war on cars. I mean, the last 10 years I've lived in Columbia City. I had to take my kids. I had to take them to North Beach, 45 minutes. You can't go light rail, bus, light rail. You can't hodgepodge that and get the kids on time. There are real realities of families that just don't include public transportation. Build infrastructure. Start doing things.
Can we though?
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's been explained to me, and perhaps this is erroneous, that the city just wasn't meant to hold this many people. So we can do little things to improve, like the way we dealt with the Mercer mess, which made the commute 2 seconds better, which doesn't sound all that great, but it's actually kind of impressive considering how many people we've added in the past 10 years. Is there what sort of infrastructure can we build to make sure that a commute? How long did it take you to get from Edmonds today?
I came from
my
Edmonds to
gosh.
Seattle. Took an hour and a half.
Oh, my gosh.
3 p.m.
Oh, my God. I hate to filibuster and take all the time from my dad here and talk about transportation, but strategic upzoning in places where it makes sense. And I will tell you one thing, too. We are so lucky to have a city that has elbow room to the left or right, depending on where you're looking, in South Downtown in Soto. We can develop there, and it's got light rail. It's got the infrastructure. We can start creating some housing there. And I'm telling you, getting a Hanson Arena in there, getting a Soto Arena into Soto, I think will be a catalyst for some of that development. And, we're lucky. And you look at another city that's booming, Denver. They have Lodo, right? Lower downtown. They have a similar thing that they've developed in the last decade or so.
It's inevitable that area is going to get built up.
We're going to get built up, but we got to build in the right spots. We got to upzone. We got to do things like allowing homeowners to.
So upzoning in all districts of Seattle?
No, strategic. I mean,
Okay.
not everywhere. No, because some area it doesn't make any sense. But what does make sense also is allowing homeowners to create mother-in-law apartments where they aren't required to live there 12 months a year. And what that's, because that little code in the city thing, it prevents that. And I think it's impacting our neighborhoods because people are then going, well, forget it, tearing down, building up these ugly boxes, right? So there's so many things we can do. We're not doing it. It's so frustrating that we're not doing it, but we can address it. If we stop the war on cars, we can start dealing with this.
Okay, Michael Harris, he's running for Seattle mayor. That's who you've been hearing from for the past half hour. Again, I love talking to you. I hope Chris Harris, obviously, in studio as well.
Dad, you've been so patient.
You have been. You have been. First British-born NBA player. You're a legend.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you both so much for coming in. I really appreciate it. What's the best place to find out more?
Oh, well, Google me up. Go to my website, go to my Facebook page, like it, and see if you agree with me and, pitch in a bit.
Michael Harris, thank you so much for coming in.
Okay.
Jason and Burns, 97.3 Cairo Radio.
Thank you.